Welcome back to Left in Kentucky. This is Roberto Henriquez,
Hey everybody, it's Ann Dickerson.
and we are back for a for the second year of this year.
I like the second.
Where
We made it to phase two.
every month is a year this year.
It seems like it. If my sleep deprivation is anything to go by, it definitely seems like it.
Oh man,
Uh,
so much going on, so little time.
right?
Yeah. So welcome everybody back. Thanks for joining us again. Um,
And I
we,
want to give a quick shout out before
mhm,
we get going
yeah.
to one of our biggest fans of all time, Will Johnson,
Mm,
who used to be a big follower, especially on X, previously Twitter. And we spoke with him from time to time virtually
mhm.
about the podcast and everything. Well, he's reconnected with us now on Blue Sky, and
Oh, great.
he's like so excited. So I'm very happy to give a shout out to him and say, we got your back, brother.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We were also, before we get into it, I was looking at some of our statistics on the podcast since we restarted it, season five. And while the majority of our listeners definitely come from Kentucky, our second highest number of listeners come from Washington State.
Dun dun dun.
Nearly 25% of our listeners in season five come from
Hey.
Washington State. So interesting. Glad you're listening. If you're from Washington State, we'd love to know what it is you find interesting enough to listen to us.
Right. And third was what? California?
Yeah, yeah. Third was California.
Hey.
And then I think fourth was Ohio, and fifth was like Connecticut or something like that.
It's a very interesting mix and not something we would have expected.
Yep,
But hey, we take all listeners.
that's right. That's right.
Anybody can send us, an email at info@indivisiblentky.com. We're happy to answer your questions. If you think we should be talking about something here in Kentucky or you want to know about something here in Kentucky, give us a shout or hit us up on any social media platform. We will be happy to get back to you or address your questions.
Yeah, we are on Blue Sky. And we're up to how many followers now on Blue Sky?
747.
Yeah.
We have jumped up. I mean, the increments have been crazy. I think the last time I sent you a link, within 24 hours, we jumped up almost 100. And it's been like
Awesome.
that. Like we'll go along and then bam, where I'll get these big chunks of 100 at a time. Then I'm like, yeehaw, we're, but I think people, in all honesty, this is what I found the first time we did this, and I dare I say it's the same thing again. I think a lot of people across the country who pay attention to us
Mhm.
and follow us are very happy to know that there are people in, Mitch McConnell's backyard and Rand Paul's backyard who are not taking things lying down and who
Right.
are doing everything in their power to hold them accountable. And we should say we're not the only group in Kentucky.
Nope.
We're in the northern part in Congressional District 4, which covers, from Greenup County all the way across the top of the counties across the river to um where does it start dropping down? To Oldham County. And then it starts dropping down south. And we go all the way down. We include the top half of Nicholas County. I mean, it's insane because
Yeah.
Nicholas County is like, southeast of Louisville. So
Yeah. That
it's
makes no sense.
no,
Not at
it's
all.
crazy. It's crazy
Yeah.
gerrymandered. But
And for those who aren't here who don't have a real good understanding of where that is, it's basically from where like West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky come together all the way down the Ohio River to halfway through Indiana, basically. is the kind of distance you're talking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, crazy,
It
crazy.
is. It is.
So, but keep listening, keep sharing the word.
Yeah. We'd love to grow our audience and let people know, hey, we're here.
Absolutely. So let's start off with some of the national wackiness going on.
Oh, Lord.
Um, yeah. Uh, the Trump is back at it with his continuing just flood the zone with as many things as he can. Um, and as many executive orders as possible, whether he has authority in those areas or not.
Well, and that, in all fairness, that is my number one concern. That is my biggest problem with what's going on and the response or lack thereof. You know, um, Congress, not the president, establishes departments and agencies, and however they choose to do it, also organizes, develops the internal organization of those agencies.
Right.
So, this whole BS about Doge, you there is no executive order that can be written to create an agency, to create a department.
Right.
So why the hell are all 435 Congress people and all 100 senators just laying down and letting this happen? I don't understand. Yeah, I can see where a certain level, a certain number of Republicans would think, oh, they love Trump's agenda, and they're doing everything in their power to help him get across the board with all of his initiatives. But the fact of the matter is, in doing this, in accepting this, they're allowing him to strip Congress of their power as written in the Constitution. And
Hmm.
they're allowing that power to be concentrated in the executive branch with the president, allowing him to become less and less a president and more a monarch. And I don't think anyone wants a king. And let's face it, the our forefathers who established this country were running from a king. So
Right.
why would we want to why would we want to move back in time? I mean, if Congress feels like, the agenda of Doge is good, that's
Then create.
then create it. Create it
Right.
the right way with the stipulations of, what the job is, what the internal organization looks like, and by God, put the richest man in the world on the payroll so that we can follow. We have a paper trail and a computer trail of who he is and what he is allowed to do. And
Right.
we have none of that. None.
Now, I mean, something the president can do is the president is allowed to establish special presidential commissions to research topics, to look into issues, and make recommendations. But that's very different from going in, handing
Exactly.
them the keys to the kingdom, and saying they can shut down entire programs and
Right.
that Congress has already approved.
Right. And it's also gone so far as we know that there have been, several lawsuits, and none of them, not a single one, has gone in the government's favor, in the president's favor, in terms of various judges shutting down what they were trying to do. And one of the most important ones was they had to end this, you know, unilateral across the board spending freeze
Hmm.
because people weren't able to get the money from the government that they were promised to be able to pay their bills.
Yeah. And
And
even and
that's
even
still happening even though they got the court ruling.
right. They got the court ruling. It's still happening, and there are organizations that have already had to shutter their doors. So, I
Right.
mean, even with the court order. And I think that's where we get into that, okay, Congress is responsible for this. Congress doesn't seem to be asserting their responsibility and authority that's granted to them by the Constitution. So the court is supposed to be the backup to that. But if the court is making orders and the executive branch is just choosing to ignore those orders because the Supreme Court said that the president can't be prosecuted for breaking the law, so where does that leave us?
Yeah, and now you've got JD Vance, who's been sent out, the pit bull of the group, has been sent out to the media, and he's now questioning the courts, saying, does the court even have the power to go against these presidential orders? That's scary
Yeah.
because right now I feel like there's two things that we need to protect and support, without question. One is our court system,
Hmm.
and two is the fourth estate, the free press.
Yep.
And both of them are getting attacked right now relentlessly in an effort to um muddy their reputation, muddy, the public sentiment in terms of what they're there for. Is there a value? Blah blah blah. It's kind of like he's trying to take over those on top of taking over Congress. I mean,
Right.
everything is about usurping power so that the only thing we as the electorate knows are what they want to come out of the White House.
Right. Well, and it's not just the White House, it's everything. I mean, they removed NPR from the press corps at the Pentagon.
Right, NPR, Politico, a whole bunch of them that had, just been there for
And
as long as we can remember.
NPR is considered the most balanced reporting out there, even by Republicans. Even
Right, it's
Republicans.
public. It's a public service,
Right.
and now they're talking about defunding it on top of everything else.
Right. Um, Plus you have, you know, Trump removing, um, firing the board at the Kennedy Center and appointing himself in charge of the Kennedy Center, saying that any performance at the Kennedy Center will have to be approved by him personally.
Yeah, I don't even know.
So
Just
now you're controlling the arts as well as the press and the media, and um, yeah, it's terrifying. It's
it is.
terrifying.
Well, it's just like, and it's all, like we've talked about, it's all this chaos
Hmm.
that was specifically designed to be this way so that no one person, no one entity can track it all, because
Hmm.
every day it's a new, you know, I just picture, I have this image in my head, Elon Musk reaching into a pot of spaghetti with both hands and just going whack and throwing it at the walls to see how much of it sticks and watch which direction what he would refer to as rats scurry to get their chum for the day. And
Hmm.
wherever they go, they're going to go in the opposite direction to take care of the spaghetti on the other wall and focus all their attention there. I mean, it's just batshit crazy.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to, and we've talked about this a little bit before, is try to focus on things that are actually happening and not the churn of what's just thrown out there and said. Um,
Right.
like I think a good example is tariffs. It looked like this was going to be a big thing, but he's basically just used it to bully countries into doing things that half of them were going to do anyway, so that he can create the problem and then fix it. So instead of spending a bunch of time focusing on tariffs, start looking at the other places like removing Congress's power, like controlling the purse and controlling agencies and
Right. Well, and the other thing is, I think we talked about this on the last episode with the tariffs, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but, he he totally got shut down and lost
Mhm.
across the board to Canada, Mexico, and China. Even though he tried to walk it back and claim it as a win. I don't know how you do that. But now all of a sudden he's back with tariffs again because it was so successful the first time and making everybody go, you know.
Yep.
And so he's back with them again with another what 25% tariff on
On steel.
Canadian steel.
Right.
So
Which is, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's more of the same.
I I just get to the point where I'm like, what do you say? What do
Yeah.
you say? So I agree with you though. I mean, we've tried very hard to direct folks to, don't pay attention to the words, pay attention to the actions.
Yep.
Because a lot of these
Absolutely.
things are going to develop over, days, weeks, and months. And, trying to keep people as informed as possible, but focused on here's what the most important thing is. And for our purposes, I think that the most important thing right now is this basically, we are in a constitutional crisis. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it because nothing is being done according to the Constitution. And I got real problems with Thomas Massey and Rand Paul. Our junior or our state representative from congressional he's not state, our representative from Congressional District 4 and our junior senator, because both of them have built careers on this bit about following the Constitution. Well, none of this shit is happening according to the Constitution, and the two of them are silent.
Yep.
Now, I will give Rand Paul credit on one thing, and that is, and I think we talked about this before, speaking up against the tariffs. He's
Right.
not happy about that. But given the totality of everything, I'm really surprised that all these people who ran on this idea that they're the, constitutional senators or the constitutional representatives, where are they?
Hmm.
Because they're
Yeah.
rolling over and allowing it. Basically, they're allowing the president to line item veto the things in the Constitution that he doesn't want to have to abide by.
You
And
mean
they're not
You
saying,
mean President Musk is allowed to
yeah,
line item veto?
right? I mean, they're not saying a thing. They're not doing anything to make sure that the power resides with Congress and the things that they're supposed to control. And that blows my mind, which leads to why today, shortly at 4:30 this afternoon, about 4 hours from now, um, we're having our first, big protest. We're on day 22, and we're going to be out there, in front of Mitch McConnell's office in Fort Wright, Kentucky. I expect there to be a large crowd. And we're going to be there for anybody that wants to stop and speak with us, read our signs, whatever the case may be, about the constitutional crisis, about, you know, this total power grab that is just unprecedented in our history.
Yeah.
If I could have a conversation with one person, though, one, you know who it would be?
Who?
John Roberts.
Yeah.
John Roberts, because he was propped up by the Koch brothers in their 40-year push to have total Republican control and do some things, but I don't think they ever envisioned this part of it. The John Birch Society and the people who, gave this big push um, to our government for a very long time didn't include the slide into MAGAism and the
Right.
slide into fascism and Hitler that has now taken over their party. And fear is such a powerful motivator that so many of them who 20 years ago would have never even considered this. Heck, the first time Trump ran, they were all trashing him, and now all of a sudden, every single one of them is so scared about losing a race that they aren't considering losing complete power.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It's ridiculous. And I want to look at John Roberts and say, are you prepared to step up and stop this? Or are you going to allow our Constitution to be completely shredded and for you to be the last, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Because he's coming there next.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
you know, he's counting on his bought and paid for people to support him on the court. And, what does he want his legacy to be? Because I promise him, it's already not kind. And if he allows it to go any further, he will never be remembered as a good guy. He will never be remembered as a jurist who stuck to the Constitution if he continues to allow this slide. I lay it 100% at his feet right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So here's a thought to keep you awake at night.
Oh, because I don't have enough.
Yeah. So John Roberts is 70 years old. What if he decides to retire during the Trump administration?
Oh my God. Then he's taking the coward's way out because there are three justices older than him, which does cost me to lose sleep every night. I mean, yeah. That would be the coward's way out. That would
Yeah.
absolutely be the coward's way out to say, well, no longer my mess, not my monkeys. Whatever happens, happens.
I
Shame
would
on him. Shame
I
on him.
I think we will see a push from the Trump administration to try to push Roberts out the door.
I don't know about Roberts. Now,
Because that way Trump gets to basically control the next Chief Justice.
oh Lord. I think there's others he'll push out first to make sure that he gets to replace them. He's already got three fairly young, extremely conservative people on the court, which is just unheard of in a 4-year period.
Yep.
And it's beyond dauntingly amazing that the president before him and the president in the interim had no opportunities to replace any justices, and it's only when Trump comes along that they all want to die or retire. I'm not sure what that says, but there it is. I think you know Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, either or both of them, I could see them gone during the Trump administration so that he can appoint at least two more very young um MAGA type
Yep.
believers who are willing to trash the Constitution just to be able to claim they were a part of the Supreme Court
Yep.
that
Yep.
tore the country apart. Yes, if that's what you want your claim to fame to be, more power to you. But I don't know. You know I
On the positive side of things, Trump did get booed at the Super Bowl yesterday. So that was pretty awesome.
well, and there's that viral picture going around with the fan, and
Yeah.
it appears to be a big guy with his back to the camera who's literally flipping off Trump with
Double
Trump
bird. Double
double
bird.
bird, and you can see Trump right. It
Yep.
appears like he's virtually right in front of him through the glass. I mean,
Yep.
the angle, it's hard to say if Trump really saw him or not. I kind of have a feeling that, being the megalomaniac narcissist that he is, his eyes always go to the negative, especially if it has to do with him. So hopefully his eyes were locked on that dude, and that dude got one in for all of us.
I I may or may not have posted that picture to my Instagram with the music. There goes my hero from Foo Fighters.
That's funny. Oh my God. That's
I'm just saying
great.
I may or may not have done
I hear
that.
you. That's
But you can check out
hilarious.
my Instagram at Roberto4KY and you will see that I most definitely did that.
That's funny. That's really
Oh,
funny.
too funny. All right. So let's shift gears and come to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, um, where we have another Roberts to talk about.
Good Lord. I just, ugh.
Unfortunately, not the good Rachel Roberts, which we miss. We love you, Rachel.
Yeah, yeah, especially, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Although, Matt Lehman being her replacement, that's not bad at all. I
no,
just would rather have both of them there.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Is
I don't know what TJ Roberts' strange obsession with our governor Andy Bashir is, but at this point, it's embarrassing. And it's mind-bogglingly embarrassing because he alone wears it like this badge of honor, and there's pictures of him with this goofy ass giant grin on his face. I mean, I think he thinks he's cool. He looks like, some deranged Chucky doll with, where he's just like all happy if he can stick it to the governor because, they haven't done that enough. Um, but yeah.
yeah. And he's doing he is sponsor uh, either co-sponsor or primary sponsor of a huge number of bills right now.
A
And
freshman legislator, no less.
yeah,
And it's
um,
like it's like a mirror almost of what's happening on the federal level
oh yeah,
because all the other Republicans down there are just deferring to this 26-year-old first time legislator as if he's the next coming. And it's
yeah,
like, I don't know. I want what's coming.
yeah,
I mean, it's nasty.
yeah. House Bill 84, which he's primary sponsor of, says that the Cabinet for Health and Family Services shall not promulgate any administrative regulation that implements or enforces any directives from the World Health Organization.
Oh, for the love of God.
And if you violate it, it is a Class D felony.
See, oh,
I know. As a former nurse and biology teacher,
I
how
want
does
to curse.
how does that hit you?
I just, I I want to go visit his parents.
Who you just want to go, who hurt you?
Right? Or like, I mean, at what point in anyone's life do you have to get to where you decide, it would be really good if everyone was uneducated? It would be really good if we didn't listen to experts in their field, especially science, despite years and decades and mountains of evidence. We can't believe what they say. But trust me, your handy dandy state representative to lead you down the path to euphoria. Get out of here. I mean, they have no business, none, zero, zip, nada, stripping a health agency of its ability to talk about freaking health by the people who know best. It's just, it's.
Well, House Bill 86 that he's primary sponsor of allows for the sale of unpasteurized milk.
Yeah, well, that's because of he's one of Massey's people. I have a picture of them, of Massey and every single one of his state representative supporters, all in T-shirts. God, I can't think of the name they gave themselves, but it's ridiculous.
He
I'll
also want
find
he
I'll
also
find it.
yeah, he also wants to prohibit police departments and judicial enforcement of red flag laws.
Yeah, because we want Joe down the street who's a mean drunk, who has an arrest record the length of my arm and leg for violent behavior, who we know beats his wife, who we know has caused other issues. We want to make sure he has access to a gun the next time he gets drunk and decides hitting her is not enough.
Yep.
I mean, it is daunting to me, this need, this desire to have this replacement penis in your hand to make sure that you can abuse women to your heart's delight, and nobody is going to say no to this guy. It's a joke.
Yep.
It's an absolute joke.
Yep. It's why we refer to them as amosexuals, right?
Right, exactly. It's like what is wrong with you that you would not support keeping women and children safe from, because red flag laws only apply to people for which there is evidence, proof of a history of these kinds of issues.
Right.
There is a mountain of scientific data to demonstrate, you know, once this happens, this is the next likely step. Once this happens, this is the next likely step. These are the people that have red flag laws applied to them. They're on the path, and they aren't at step one. They
No.
are well down the path. We know what's coming. And I tell you what, for every woman and child who was battered and wanted protection, for whom they would not take the person's gun away, if those people are killed, I think every state legislator should be able to be personally sued for wrongful death
Yeah.
if they agree to that kind of legislation. You know, they
And
want to be litigious and be able to sue for the ridiculousness of, $1,000 a day for somebody who bought gold bullion and had to pay their taxes. Wah, wah, wah.
yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you, let's make it matter where it matters, in death.
Yeah. And most, I mean, the Republicans talk about how, they always support the police and back the blue and all this.
Right,
Police are in favor of red flag laws
right. They
because
have
it
their
makes
hands
them
full.
safer.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And not only that, you know, it, my uncle was a captain over in Cincinnati.
Hmm.
And I can tell you from his stories over the years, domestic violence calls some of the calls that they hate the absolute most, because there are too many unknown factors involved, and one or more of the parties being armed is one of those factors. It's just it,
Yep.
it I stop the insanity, somebody please. Stop the insanity.
So let's see, more insanity.
Oh
Uh,
God,
TJ
there's more.
Roberts is primary sponsor on the bill. We're now into three-digit bills. So 169. For those who don't know, the the lower the number of the bill, the more of a priority it generally is for the party that that the person is from. So like bills that are like 1 through 50 or 1 through 100 are like their top priorities. 100 and somethings are next. 200 and somethings are usually stuff that they just throw out there to try to get some news or whatever, may or may never see the light of day. So this is House Bill 169, requiring the Board of Education races to become partisan in
Yeah.
the primary and the election.
And gee, I wonder why they would want that.
Yep.
Maybe it's because, in the 2022 midterms, in every race that was nonpartisan, the Democrat won. In every ballot initiative that voters had to vote on, it went the way that the Democrats wanted. And it's because of this. Liberal ideas are the ones that appeal to the vast majority of people. But we have this crazy clown show of very loud, very obnoxious, MAGAites who believe in their worldview that people would rather vote for them. But unless they have an R after their name, people look at them and go, "You're crazy,"
Hmm.
and they don't vote for them.
Yep. Yep. It's to give them cover, to give them a pass for the insanity. Um, Now, this one, people probably have heard something about this next one. House Bill 175. This is a bill in the state of Kentucky to remove the name of the governor or lieutenant governor from signs at the border.
Now, I mean, come on, really, really, we're expending time, energy, and money on this. We have a serious homeless problem in this state. Last year, these same people decided to, and this was before he got into office, so I will say, clarify that. They decided to make homelessness a crime,
Yep.
because police need to be sweeping all these people up off the streets and throwing them in jail. Because, of course, if you're homeless, you have all kinds of money in your pocket to be able to pay your way out of jail or a fine for being
Right.
homeless.
Well, we have to put more people in jail so that we can support the privatization of prisons, but
Right.
that's another episode.
Yeah, well, God, there are so many, and we are so limited on time. But with all the things that can be fixed, feeding kids, affordable housing, on and on and on and on and on. Somehow, this made it as a priority in his pea brain to introduce, and he's trying to push it as if it will save money. You, how much money are we? Entrances into the state? How many signs are we talking? 20? I mean, what can that possibly
Yeah,
say? I
if
we're
that.
I don't care if it was 100 signs. You're talking the strip along the bottom so that it can be easily changed every time we elect a new governor.
Right.
We aren't talking
So every 4 years or every 8 years.
right. We aren't talking a significant savings that can be applied anywhere towards any other objective. This is childish, petty bullshit. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I think it just shows that you know, Governor Bashir, Uncle Andy, one of the most popular governors in the country,
Yeah.
uh, even among Republicans, lives rent free in Robert's head.
Oh, I mean, well, first off, that is a place I definitely would not want to dive into. But my favorite response, I got to hand it to our gov. There's a reason that the hashtag is Love My Gov across Kentucky because he got asked about it recently, and his response was, "Yeah, there's a what young new legislator who seems to think about me a lot, and quite frankly, I don't think about him at all." And I was like, "Damn, that's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about."
Oh, that's awesome.
What and what can Andy do? I mean, seriously, what can he do? He has no control over that. He has no control how many bills they submit that affect his job or his name. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter if they take his name off of every sign as you're entering the state, because by God, the people of this state know who he is and they love him. He has an approval rating in the 60s. I don't think there's a Republican in the state that has had an approval rating that high ever.
No.
Ever. So, it's this constant chip, chip, chip. And now that Andy's national profile is on the rise, they're going to take all these petty little pot shots and do whatever they can to try to, sully his name or his reputation or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, they've been after the guy since he ran in 2019 and they haven't been successful yet.
Yep.
Yeah. I just said, yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at yeah. And he's got some more crazy firearm stuff. One that he wants to allow a tax credit for firearm manufacturing tax and firearm transfer tax. Um, one where he wants to um, allow um, repeal the interpretation on carrying concealed weapons so that post-secondary colleges, government buildings can't limit it. So you can take them anywhere in
Yeah,
schools.
because nothing sounds like sound judgment and logic like allowing a bunch of late teen, early 20-year-olds whose number one job oftentimes at college is finding themselves, which includes a lot of experimenting in a lot of different ways, especially alcohol. And let's combine that with a bunch of people running around with guns in their pockets or their waistband or whatever, because surely nothing bad can be foreseeable from that combination. I mean, Jesus.
Yep.
Common sense. Common sense. There is none. There is absolutely no common sense.
He wants to make the following items tax exempt: ammunition, antique firearms, body armor, firearms, firearm related accessories, firearm safety courses, firearm safety devices, firearm storage devices, noise canceling ear protection. I'll go along with them on that one because that has manufacturing applications. And admissions or program fees to certain firearm related activities.
But not diapers.
Yep.
Those we got to tax those diapers.
Yep. Not period products.
Yeah. I mean, there again, every it's almost like everything he talks about in some way is benefiting him unless it's the petty stuff. And the petty stuff is easy to figure out.
Yep.
But this crap, give me a break. Give me a break. I mean, really. I, you want to you if you want to help people by eliminating certain taxes instead of guns, let's focus on cars because
Yep.
many more people in this state operate and own cars than they do guns. And I'm sorry if your uncle, you know, Jim has a collection of 1,000 guns and wants to get 1,000 more. Too bad, so sad. We got people driving on the roads or whatever the case may be. But they keep, here's my other problem, this whole issue of finance. You know, we found out this year that, there's a, what is a $40 million shortfall in education in the state of Kentucky. And all you heard them preach all last year, which was complete, well, it wasn't a complete lie. It was the famous Rand Paul line of how he uses misinformation to his advantage. And
Mhm.
so, they were constantly touting, "Oh, we spent more money on education than we ever have, blah blah blah." Okay, that's true, but what you don't say is that it still is below the recommended funding from 2018,
Yep.
right? 7 years ago.
Yeah. And we've
And
talked
you're
about that on several episodes.
right. So, and now you're telling me, okay, so we're going to take away, the tax on gold and silver. We're going to take away the tax on anything anyone could ever think of that is related to a gun. We're going to take away all the tax on that. We're going to reduce the state income tax to 3.5% across the board again. Where is the money to replace this coming from? Because there's only one pool that they keep jumping into. There's only one thing that they keep increasing, and that's consumer based tax. That
Yep.
means they've increased the number of services that they're going to tax you for, whether it's when you take your car in or when you take your pet to the vet or on and on and on. And at the grocery store,
Yep.
they are increasing, because most people, are under the assumption that groceries are tax free. Not totally, not anymore, not in the state of Kentucky.
What if I have to get my racehorse taken care of?
Oh, well, honey, that's tax free.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. I just don't understand why more people, I don't know. I guess it's kept under wraps enough. But we've also talked about there's definitely a void, there's definitely a vacuum of information between Frankfurt and those of us up here in northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
There's a severe lack of reporting on what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
Which is funny
and
because,
go ahead.
which just so everybody knows, this wackadoodle, TJ Roberts, he's a representative from District 66 in Boone County. Wait, that district sounds familiar to me. Oh, yeah, I used to live there and I ran for that position in 2018 and 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like the northern tip of Boone County, a good chunk
Well,
of Florence and
right.
Hebron.
Right. And here's the thing that people need to know. And flat out, in the state of Kentucky, Boone County is ground zero. Boone County is a county that needs just a severe, a massive amount of attention and help because the people there are suffering as it has become the hub of MAGA activity in the state of Kentucky.
Yep,
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Marianne Proctor was recruited
yep,
to move here from Texas for the sole purpose of running for office. And she was able to move here and get elected within 6 years,
yep,
all by following this MAGA manifesto. And you've got her, you've got Steve Rawlings in the Senate, you've got TJ Roberts, you've got Steve Doan, who Steve Doan is my rep, and let me tell you, that baby face little shit is happy to just smile and stand at the sides and get equal amounts of credit for being a yes man. That's the kind of person I want speaking for me.
yep,
you know, get out of here.
yep,
Get out of here. But this is Boone County. It is the hub. The members of the Republican leadership that came to Marianne Proctor's fundraiser while she was running last year cited Boone County themselves
yep,
as this is where everything's happening. We need to follow them, on and on and on and on and on. So I'm telling, I don't care if you're the Democratic Party. I don't care if you're an activist organization. I really hope and care if you're people outside of the state of Kentucky who care about these things and have some ideas that might work. Please know of 120 counties in the state of Kentucky, Boone County is where every spotlight should be shown to flush out these cockroaches who are hell bent on turning us into, a theocratic authoritarian state. It's ridiculous.
yep, 100%. Um, yeah, TJ, he's in the standing committees. He's on elections, constitution amendments, and intergovernmental affairs. He's on the Judiciary Committee, and he's on the Veterans, Military Affairs, and Public Protection Committee. He is an alumni of, he is a member of the Federalist Society.
Of course he is.
Yep. Um, so, and you can look up all this information on the Legislative Research Commission website. I know we talk about this a lot, but it's a great way to really find out what's going on in the legislature in Kentucky, who's who is sponsoring what bills. And that address is legislature.ky.gov. Um, Go there, bookmark it, check it frequently. We're in the midst of our General Assembly right now, so a lot of activity going on. A lot of activity going on.
Well,
I think that's enough for one week. What do you think?
oh my God.
I mean, I can keep going through TJ Bills if you want.
It just is, It's not, none of this is independent thought. And I think that's another thing to point out. This is entirely agenda based. This is entirely, this narrow-minded focus. Somewhere, somebody at some point in his life, when he decided that politics was going to be his thing, said, here's your agenda. Here's what you've got to do. Here's the ideology you're going to follow, and you're going to be our puppet as you march down the line.
Hmm.
And he's doing it. He's not some genius that came up with stuff by himself. Although I don't
Yeah.
know
I mean, a lot of
that.
this is right out of the 2025 Project 2025 playbook.
Right, right. But although, his whole whatever it is, obsession with Bashir is just, you know, we'll lay that flat at his feet. He's picked that up along the way, kind of like a parasite or a virus that
Yep.
he seems not to be able to fight within himself. I don't know. But one day at a time, one step at a time, pay attention to people's actions and not their words. Build your personal network so that you have people who feed your mind, your body, and your soul with joy and keep fighting every day. That's what we're going to do.
Yep. Yep. I do want to say that one of the bills you referred to that we didn't talk to, that we didn't really detail was House Bill 2. And remember what I said, the lower the number, the more important that is to the party. So
Right, right,
House Bill 2, this is the second most important thing in the Republicans' minds in the state of Kentucky. And that's basically uh, to take off a tax on currency or bullion currency. So basically, you buy gold bars and you sell taxes on it.
right. We talked about that last time.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, so it includes damages up to $1,000 each day, each
Right,
day.
right. For up to, which would go from the time that was the bill was supposed to pass would have been August of last year until this bill, should it pass, go through this year. So $1,000 a day per person, potentially for a year, is the
Hmm.
most, just because we have all that kind of money to throw around. But I know where they're going to go with this. They're going to say, well, it comes out of the governor's office. They have to pay it from just, they can't pay, it can't be paid from the rainy day fund. It can't be paid from a budgetary expense. It's got to come from just the money that's appropriated for the governor, which is just
Yeah. And
dauntingly stupid.
they declare this as an emergency, which means if it passes, it goes into effect immediately
Well, that
and
would be
retroactive.
right. Well, that would be nice, but they won't. I don't think they'll do it because if they do declare it an emergency, then that's less money each person can get paid
I mean,
because it will
that's
go.
the act is declaring an emergency.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
they missed their shot at a couple extra months worth of $1,000 a day there.
Retroactive and emergency. It was right now it's in the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. So if you're interested in seeing what happens with House Bill 2, you can look up the when the Appropriations and Revenue Committee meeting is. They stream those on KET. Um, you can go to the KET website, watch those, and see what they say about it. So yeah, House Bill 2. Got to protect those people buying gold bullion. I know I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, right.
All right, so wrapping up, we've got the action this evening at late this afternoon at Mitch McConnell's office. Any other actions coming up in the near future?
There's all kinds of possibilities. I know there are several conversations swirling in a couple different areas about um like taking a worker's day off, if you will,
Hmm.
of having one day where nobody buys a thing.
Nice.
which would really be interesting. And then there's talk of a basically a massive nationwide workers walkout where for one day nobody goes to work. Um, I like that idea myself, but that would
Yeah.
take, that's going to take a little bit longer to
Yeah.
get together. But the more people who become disenfranchised by the actions that are being taken, the more people who wake up with buyer's remorse for what they thought they were voting for that wasn't supposed to affect them, the more these things get closer to happening. I mean, it's going to, I do believe we are in the middle of a ginormous class warfare. And, I'm just sitting here waiting for the return of the Jedi. Because that's what it's going to take. That's what it's
Sounds
going to take.
good. Sounds good. All right, so I guess that'll wrap it up for this week on Left in Kentucky. We appreciate you joining us. Follow us on the social medias. Email us. Let us know what you think. Share the podcast with others, and we'll be back next week to see what fresh hell this following week brings us. Until then, this is Roberto Henriquez.
And Dickerson.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye bye.